Watch this.
All right, AI is here to stay, but the worry is how it might eventually harm us or our kids. Idaho's Attorney General explains how they're combating this new technology, specifically when it comes to child pornography. Quick, name the most common languages spoken in Idaho. You could probably get 2 of them, but the third, well, that might surprise you. It surprised us too, but we found a place where you can learn it from a pro.
Fight Broncos, celebrate the orange and blue. Boise will stand and cheer for you.
You may not know the BSU fight song, but these frat guys did after, well, they sang it every 15 minutes for 24 hours straight. Could they still do it 21 years later? The top prosecutors in all 50 states are on the same page for at least one topic: fighting against AI technology. It's used to exploit children through things like child pornography. Yes, it's an uncomfortable topic to talk about, but AI technology has gotten to the point where child predators can generate child porn that appears very real. The gravity of the situation is at the point where the attorneys general in every state agree, well, Congress needs to take action. Joe Paris spoke with Idaho's AG about the message to Congress and the effort his office is working to now introduce Idaho legislation to take on the problem.
Attorneys General from all 50 states and U.S. territories sent this letter to the leaders of the United States Congress. Their message: action is needed to protect children being victimized by AI technology.
There's a huge problem with AI when it comes to children. There's a lot of fake pictures that are being made of children, vulnerable people, whether they're real or fake pictures.
Idaho Attorney General Raul Labrador follows the topic closely. His office goes to great lengths to fight the exploitation of children. Evolving technology takes that to a new level.
Yesterday, my criminal division chief was showing me how you can just go to AI and say, I want to see a picture of a blonde girl at the beach with a red dress. And within 2 seconds, it creates an image. And so if you use your imagination, imagine what you can do. You can tell the AI to pretty much create anything, and it's horrendous, some of the things that we're seeing out there.
Labrador echoes what his AG colleagues have found. Real children are being harmed.
It's not just fake pictures that are a problem, but what they're taking actually the faces of actual children and imposing them on bodies of prior children who had been abused. So you actually have children who are victimized twice.
In their letter to Congress, the country's top legal leaders say that they know Congress is looking at AI, but they explain, quote, much of the focus has been on national security and education concerns, and while those interests are worthy of consideration, the safety of children should not fall through the cracks when evaluating the risks of AI.
We need to do something about it. In fact, our office is looking at introducing some legislation this year at the in Idaho. So at the state level, to combat some of the things that we need to do in the state of Idaho.
Labrador tells me his office is still working on the specifics of legislation on the topic, but they know what they want to accomplish with it.
There's already laws against child pornography, but we want to make sure that you're including these AI-generated photos in, that there's not a defense that these are fake in some way, that they're not real, that it wasn't a real child that was being abused. The way AI works is that they're using all the pictures that are out there, and that's how they create these pictures. So it's just that it's a form of exploitation of children, and we want to make sure that we prevent it. So we want to make sure that the legislature includes AI-generated pictures in our child pornography laws.
Labrador hopes that new laws at the national level will be crafted quickly. While they wait, real work continues in Idaho to protect children from exploitation, something Labrador's office chases down on a regular basis. And all 50 states coming together on this issue speaks volumes.
It tells you how abhorrent it is, how concerned we are, and how important it is for Congress to actually do something about it.
And it is a tough topic for the AG's office to tackle, and Labrador and I spoke today about the incredible work that ICAC, the Idaho Internet Crimes Against Children Task Force, the great work they do here in Idaho, and they're the team that takes on cases of child exploitation and child pornography. And Brian, it is a scary reality we live in. I know that there's a lot of excitement about AI and ChatGPT, but if you have a tool like that, it will be used for criminal activity like creating child pornography.
Okay, I know when it comes to the internet, everything's accessible. There's the dark web and all that kind of stuff. But what could be done at the state level on something that is like international like this?
I think the message here from the state level and really what's being asked of Congress is we need to put this into law. We need to put this into code that there's no loophole here. You can't create child pornography that doesn't involve real children. It's just fake images. No, they're generated based on real images of children. So I think getting it into law is really just reflecting the sign of the times.
Okay. Thank you very much, Joe. You know, the rough definition of a restraining order is an order issued by a court to keep someone from doing something that may harm a certain someone else. A temporary restraining order is just that, temporary until it's not. In Idaho, that temporary part lasts 14 days. Well, the West Bonner County School District doesn't seem to recognize, or at least didn't until about a half hour ago, or restrain itself from ignoring such court orders, because they've since scheduled a meeting and have now signed a contract for its superintendent, all while under said order. All right, here's a quick refresher. We've talked about this for, well, quite some time now. The West Bonner County School Board, they appointed former Idaho Freedom Foundation staffer Brandon Durst as its new superintendent back in June with a 6-figure contract. Spartan Summer of Fun culminated in a recall election a week ago where 2 of the board members who voted for Durst were ousted by an overwhelming majority. 2 days later, the board announced there would be a special meeting scheduled for last Friday, September 1st, 5 p.m., right before a 3-day weekend. But just before it happened, a judge issued a temporary restraining order after an attorney pointed out there was a potential for immediate and irreparable harm since it would solely benefit the superintendent and recalled trustees. Well, plus this meeting wasn't necessary and dismantling the board was a violation of Idaho code. So the meeting was canceled. Yesterday, though, at the end of the first day of school, the same board said it would hold another special meeting tonight. And so the question is, wouldn't getting together for a meeting to discuss and decide things, wouldn't that be a violation of the temporary restraining order? Yes, it would, says the attorney who filed for it. Katie Elsasser told us any actions related to a contract or revisions of those documents would be a direct violation, which is what they planned to do based on an agenda item, or 2 of them specifically, approving the contract of Durst, which would be an action that would financially commit or contractually obligate the district, which is an obvious violation of the temporary restraining order, the very first item of the temporary restraining order. And of course, she told us this is just her legal opinion. A judge would make that ultimate decision. But today we learned Superintendent Durst's amended contract was signed yesterday by the recalled but still chair until the election can be certified tomorrow, Keith Rutledge and Durst. So is that a violation of the temporary restraining order? Again, yes, says Elsasser. There was no open meeting. There's no motion to accept it, no second of that motion, no vote by trustees on that contract. So the question is, why did it happen? Well, because it ended up a bit different than it was even 5 days ago. Why did they need all that stuff? The contract removed the clause which would have allowed the board to fire him should he not get the certification, provisional or otherwise, from the State Board of Education. But it also apparently removed the part which would have given him a golden parachute, the part that said if the board decides to terminate the contract, it should pay him the remainder of his contract within 30 days. So we reached out to the school board and to Brandon Durst, but neither have responded at this point. So here's what happened. As of about 30 minutes ago, the school board decided to cancel tonight's meeting. So that pretty much answers our questions. One of them was going to be, aren't Republicans supposed to be the party of law and order? So violating the temporary restraining order, that would kind of go against that. It wasn't that long ago Brandon Durst ran for state superintendent as a Republican and was a leader of the party leaders, one of the party leaders, I should say, who last summer wrote the rules to determine who is allowed to register as a Republican. This contract, too, this meeting, I guess the question now is, what are we doing up in West Bonner County if we're scheduling meetings that ultimately have to be canceled because of a court order, which of course seems to be like costing the money or costing that district, which is already cash-strapped, a serious shortage of change right now. So I guess, like I said, that meeting is canceled, will not happen, but we do know this contract, which was set to be approved tonight apparently, was already signed. So we'll see what happens with that. More news from around the 208. We got some standoffs, police assaults, and unfortunately some protests. We have it all in today's 411 with Hector Mendoza.
Ultimately, SWAT officers made entry into Mr. Adams' apartment and were able to take him into custody without further incident.
One man is in jail after a 7-hour-long police standoff in Moscow. Moscow police say 54-year-old Thomas L. Adams fired multiple shots yesterday morning. Police say when they arrived on scene, Adams barricaded himself in his house, and after 7 hours, officers say they used tasers and tear gas to bring the standoff to an end. Thankfully, no one was hurt, and Adams now faces multiple charges, including the unlawful discharge of weapons, disturbing the peace, and resisting and obstructing officers. An Ontario man is behind bars in Payette County after allegedly assaulting a sheriff's deputy and trying to escape custody. The Payette County Sheriff's Office says on September 2nd, 37-year-old Kyle Lewis was taken to the hospital for evaluation while he was under arrest. While at the hospital, the Sheriff's Office says Lewis attacked and started choking the deputy who was guarding him. Hospital staff stepped in to help, and the deputy was able to regain control of the situation. The deputy was given medical attention and has since been released from the hospital.
They cut a lot from us, and we cannot support our families with how much we're making right now.
Dozens of Uber drivers protested outside the Best Western near the Boise airport, which we're told is the rideshare waiting lot. Drivers are protesting recent decisions by the company to lower drivers' wages. Drivers we talked to say higher demand for Uber rides led the rideshare company to lower the amount of money each driver earns per ride, and they're earning even less on larger trips. The protest is nationwide, and we reached out to Uber for comment last night, but haven't heard back from them yet. And that's the 411 on the 208. I'm Hector Mendoza.
You know, Idaho has a pretty decent reputation as being refugee-friendly. Keeps in line with the City of Trees' unofficial model of Keep Boise Kind. It's also woven into the fabric of our country, so it's pretty much everywhere. Land of different cultures coming together in one place. Chances are, your family, well, you were once immigrant here as well. Our Ukrainian population, for example, well, that's been slowly increasing. It's a direct impact from Russia's invasion of Ukraine more than a year ago. According to an analysis of the U.S. Census Bureau, Ukrainian is now one of the most common languages in Boise. Comes in third, right after English and Spanish. Andrew Bartline found out why and what that means for those who don't speak it.
Just down 16, outside Nampa's city center, sits a new home hosting an old reputation.
Big country with a lot of opportunities.
Here, they live up to that standard.
I came to the US like 6-7 months ago.
So Mila Tapas
Recently.
makes the most of it, using her opportunity to keep her culture from fading.
I'm working as education coordinator about Ukrainian and Russian language school.
A school that's increasingly necessary. The Welcome Center serves more than 560 official clients and more on the side, building their own reputation. Resilience.
A lot of kids who grew up here, or even if they moved from Ukraine recently, but they learn English so quick.
All coming at a price.
They start to speak on English easier than on their first and native language, Ukrainian language. This is why I really like that I can help to save their native language.
An effort now with measurable success.
Ukrainian language and culture spreads throughout, which is very exciting.
Thanks to Ivana Miyakota.
I am very proud of that.
Particularly proud to hear the U.S. Census data shows the third most popular language in Boise is Ukrainian.
I want my kids to know where they came from.
She's been here now for 9 years.
I lived in the Crimean Peninsula, and that was the first part that was taken by Russia, and it happened in 2014. I had a huge language barrier. I could not say a word when I came to the US.
That old resilience, her new opportunity. Ivana did more than just learn English.
I teach Ukrainian for kids.
It's a passion driven by her own personal experience.
Some Americans were saying, oh, that's somewhere next to Russia.
And compounded by the war back home.
Just a couple of years ago, people started learning about Ukraine a lot, and unfortunately, this is not the way we would imagine people would learn about our country.
The language, it serves as an entry point for people and culture.
This is just a joy.
Because the reputation at the Welcome Center really is a home away from home.
All my family is still in Ukraine, that's why it's really hard.
I feel like Ukrainians received so much more support than it was in the past.
Not a bad rep.
Only tells me that so many people are coming from Ukraine that it is not being unnoticeable.
The Welcome Center's number of official clients has more than doubled compared to this time just a year ago. They say preserving the language really is the basic level of preserving a culture, and language classes are not just for Ukrainian families and their children. It's open for anyone who's interested. It's about $45 a month, Brian.
Okay.
But the date has passed on what the most recent line of signups is, so I imagine they'll reset that later and have another class for another cycle going through, because I think it lasts a handful of months. Also just got numbers back from the office, the Idaho office for refugees, I should say. Previous 10 years, 125 people were Ukrainian refugees in Idaho. There's been 588 men, women, and children since the war started just over a year ago.
That's quite a jump. And
yeah.
No disrespect to the importance of the center and what they're doing and why they're doing what they're doing and the need for it, but I would think that Basque would be way up there.
That was my first thought as well.
And it's not on that list, or at least not top 3.
Not top 3. They just found the top one behind English and Spanish, which I think are gimmies to be top 2 probably throughout the whole country. Got a whole section of downtown. I would have thought Basque too, but no, it's Ukrainian.
All right. Now we know. Thank you very much, Andrew.
Well, if you've got your patio umbrella open in the Treasure Valley, might be a good time to close it because we've got some storms that are now working their way into the area. Magic Valley has been seeing some of those storms, but now they're in Treasure Valley areas, we're finally starting to see some of those hold together. So you can see a little bit towards Murphy and Homedale, some of those storms holding together, and they're producing some pretty strong winds. So this radar product shows the velocity, and I just want to show you how clearly you can see that kind of wall of wind that's moving outward. So it just moved through Nampa and getting a little bit closer to Caldwell. It's in the 25 to 30 mile an hour range. So this is not damaging, but definitely could move your umbrella around if you have that still up. So it's probably moving right now through Nampa, and again, it could pass through Middleton as well. You can see that very clearly outlined there, and pass through Melba a little while ago. So these are producing, again, those winds, and we are seeing those storms hold together as they continue to move inland, and we are seeing some lightning with that as well. And again, towards Magic Valley spots, you can see that we've been watching the lightning and some of the stronger storms as well. But a lot of that activity has been to the south of Twin Falls, and some of those stronger storms have been to the east. However, this activity is expected to continue as we go throughout the next few hours because more of that moisture is moving in. However, once we get past tonight, we are expecting that to calm down, and we're expecting drier conditions on the way. Also, we have warm temperatures. It's 88 right now in Boise, but 1 year ago today, the high was 101, and we saw 4 triple-digit days in the month of September. So just a little bit of contrast for you for what we were looking at last year.
You know, the Boise State football team returns, possibly licking its wounds, implied by, or I should say imparted by the Huskies. They return to the home turf of Albertson Stadium for its home opener this weekend, something that just might raise the team's spirits as they head out onto the field. Or prior to that, during practice this week, a group of people getting together sing the BSU fight song repeatedly for 24 hours. We don't believe this is happening this week on the Boise State campus before their game with Central Florida, but it did happen 21 years ago before the team's home opener against the University of Idaho. John Miller caught up with a fraternity in the middle of a morale booster back in 2002, and in today's 208 redial, we caught up with them again.
3, 2, 1. Fight Broncos, celebrate the orange and blue. Boise will stand and cheer for you.
How often do you sing?
Every 15 minutes.
Fight for distinction and our alma mater.
2 p.m. today till 2 p.m. tomorrow.
Bravely defending BSU.
You have no idea what the words are to this song, do you?
Nope, not a clue. Fight on courageously for Boise State.
But the Kappa Sigs and all who join them every 15 minutes are learning, fueled by cake, humored by hacky sack, and led by President Mike Clifford.
I'll be here all night.
Mike Clifford would be here all night.
Does anybody want to sing the fight song?
And he would be here again.
Does anybody know the fight song?
2 decades later. Can you believe it's been 21 years?
No. No. That was a long time ago.
Everybody graduate?
Yeah. Yes.
Eventually. Pat on the back. Congratulations.
Good job, Russ.
Nobody seemed to know the words very well.
Some of us did. And certainly some of us will never forget them after singing for 24 hours. That thing was in my head for weeks.
And now years.
And now years, yes.
I assume you came prepared to do this again.
Do what?
Sing the fight song.
No.
Yes.
No, that was not, that's not part of the deal.
This is part of the deal.
All right, fine.
So 21 years after this.
2, 1. Fight Broncos, celebrate the orange and blue.
Mike and the rest of the Kappa Sigs are back on the quad.
Fight Broncos,
for this.
Celebrate the orange and blue. Boise will stand and cheer for you.
Cheer for you!
Backed once again by Kelly, Sean, and Russ.
Bravely defending BSU.
BSU!
And a couple of current brothers. Mike showed they and Russ
Success and honor make her great.
Make her great!
still got it.
Boise's proud tradition, heads of competition, glory for BSU.
Who's going to perform better, the team this weekend or you guys?
The team this weekend, hopefully.
Go Orange! Go Big Blue! Go Orange! Go Big Blue! Fight! Fight! BSU!
Nice!
That sounded a lot better than it did 20 years ago.
Did it? Well, probably, maybe. All right, all 50 of those guys from the original story back in 2002, they still keep in touch. Some even work together today. In fact, a few of them are going to be in Vegas this weekend for a brother's wedding, so they're going to miss the Saturday game on the Blue. So will that morale that they did 21 years ago, and then again today, was that going to work this week? Well, we'll see. we can find, or you can find, this week's Game Day Guide on our website, ktvb.com. You can find it there right now. You know, I asked Andrew why Basque wasn't higher on that list of languages spoken in Boise, and I had a Basque friend point out, Shante Oslip, say the only real Basque people, or only real Basque being spoken here anymore, are those who learned from their families growing up, and those people are becoming fewer and fewer. So it's being passed down, but there aren't too many Basque people moving here that speak the language and continue to do so. So there's a reason for that. The hubris of Durst and his cronies in Bonner County, well, that's appalling. Thank you and all the news media who are watching these grifters and keeping the public informed. Just imagine what they would be pulling off if no one was watching. Thanks for the good work, says Faye. That includes Idaho Ed News, the Bonner Daily Bee up there. They got people there on a daily basis keeping us updated, and we appreciate it as well. We'll see you tomorrow.